Dad discovers a message in his pocket after the airline forbids him from boarding the plane with the infant. It was becoming later and later in the day, and he was stuck with nowhere to go. The unthinkable only occurred after he got on the plane, believing he was going home. Suddenly, a woman told the new father that he had to come with her now as he wouldn't be able to travel today. Welcome to USA Stories channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. In April of 2018, Reuben Swift visited Phoenix. With good cause, he was happier than he'd been in months. Reuben had recently become a parent, but things had not gone well for him. He felt that things were finally improving the day he received the excellent news, but his joy would not last long. To get here, Reuben had to endure a protracted legal struggle, but he had succeeded. Since the court had given him full custody, he was free to pick up his newborn daughter, Rue Andrea, and bring her to his Ohio home. Though he was eager to see her, he was unaware that fate was about to take a surprising turn. The happy new dad then drove straight back to the airport to be ready for the journey to little Rue Andrea's new forever home after leaving the Phoenix hospital with the child, who had only been in this world for 4 days. Imagine Reuben's shock when the ticket agent told him that none of this mattered at all, even though everything had been previously negotiated and planned with the airlines. Rue Andrea's medical team at the hospital had prepared all the necessary paperwork to prove that she was well enough to handle the rigors of an interstate flight with all of its attendants. So how is this occurring right now? Perplexed, Reuben could only listen as the Frontier Airlines ticket agent gave him the rundown on why they wouldn't be able to get home. As it happens, the officer revealed that the airline has a regulation prohibiting infants under the age of 7 days from taking any kind of flight, no matter how brief the journey. Devastated and desperately missing his family, Reuben questioned how he would ever get over this challenge. He began to consider his choices. Could Reuben wait the 3 days for Rue Andrea to get old enough to be able to board an airplane flight? Is it possible for him to find another airline with a different policy? How else could he make their way back to Ohio, his home state? He was scratching his bewildered and overloaded brain. But hold on. Here's the next challenge. I was out of money, and the hospital told me that I wouldn't be able to get a birth certificate for 7 days, Reuben recounted. I was concerned that I would be accused of maltreatment and have my infant taken away if airport security caught me dozing off with her. I was unable to move. However, things were going to grow far worse. There was not a single relative or acquaintance of Reuben's that resided in Phoenix. This implied that a new father and his newborn daughter were abandoned in a town they were unfamiliar with no one to help them. Would he face this fate for the next 3 days? Fearing that he would not be able to provide the greatest care for his new little bundle of joy, he began to worry. However, he forced himself to calm down and began to think clearly and optimistically. Then a face materialized. Then, in the midst of all the chaos in his consciousness, he unexpectedly saw a face. He remembered seeing his daughter for the first time at the maternity department at Banner University Medical Center, where he had seen an old woman when he had been in the hospital. She revealed herself to be a volunteer in the hospital, and he witnessed her holding and tending to Rue Andrea. After a few minutes of conversation, he had the feeling that the woman was nurturing and extremely nice. He happened to get her number for whatever reason. He had jotted it down and stuffed it into his pocket, but he had no idea if she would even recognize him or his daughter should he give her a call. He gathered his thoughts and chose to trust his instincts when standing at the airport with a newborn in his arms and no other alternatives available to him. He took the folded piece of paper from his pocket, phoned the number, and said a prayer. It started ringing and said, "Please answer, please." That phone call was the pivot point for everything. At this point, Joy Ringhofer enters the picture, and a lovely and touching tale begins to take shape. Her name itself is important. After just 3 days, this deed of compassion blossomed into a lifetime friendship that warmed the hearts of millions of people worldwide. Joy threw out her arms and welcomed Reuben and tiny Rue Andrea into her house. She stated, "I had such a strong feeling that I needed to do this for him, and I know that he's a very kind and safe man to have in my home, and he's been a perfect gentleman." Reuben was traveling to pick up his newborn daughter, So what had begun as an incredibly happy occasion nearly descended into a tragic journey when he found himself trapped in an unfamiliar place. He was immediately filled with joy after all that had occurred to him, and he had been taken in by an elderly lady who was kind to him. He and his little daughter, Rue Andrea, were looked after by this gentle angel. Ruben mentioned that she told him she would come get him and take him home when he phoned. Ruben continued to chuckle, assuming she would transport him to Ohio. However, he was unaware that she would welcome them into her house and provide for their needs. She could have simply declined them and stated there was an issue, Ruben added. Rather, she adopted them into her family, and it never caused any trouble, despite the fact that they were total strangers. She made sure that Ruben and tiny Rue Andrea were content and fed them. At night, Joy would stay up and cuddle with tiny Rue Andrea, treating her like her own. At night, she even brought her into her room, remained with her, and saw to it that she was fed and kept warm. "I mean, who does that?" said Ruben, who was astounded. Joy remarked, "She's just wonderful, beautiful," after they bonded so deeply. Joy will miss her greatly when she goes, since she has been such a lovely person. She hugged, caressed, and looked after the small infant for the following few days. The three odd friends grew close to one another, to the point that they visited the burial of the great-grandmother's 78-year-old husband, who had recently gone away from Parkinson's disease. This unwavering generosity so touched Ruben that he remarked, "Joy is Rue Andrea's grandmother, and Joy has gained a granddaughter." Frontier Airlines offered to cover any adjustment fees for Ruben's trip this time around when he and his daughter booked a flight to return to Ohio. How does the proverb proceed? Too little, too late. They were ready to leave the young family penniless in an unfamiliar city with no money for food, supplies, or a hotel or cab to make the trip back home when he was unable to board the aircraft with his newborn child. They also stated that his money would only be refunded in 7 days. Thank goodness the universe functions in weird ways. Ruben Swift understood that a fellow human being needed love and care when she met this nice great-grandmother who took a risk, taking care of human kindness. Via this tiny deed of compassion, a family, a grandma, a granddaughter, and a relationship were all created. Ruben has learned a lot from this experience, including how difficult it can be to care for a newborn on his own and how unprepared he is for the role. He followed all the right processes, but the airline still had its regulations, which may be rather unjust and stupid at times. Nevertheless, he kept his composure and used excellent judgment by enlisting the assistance of a retired caretaker who happened to be a really nice Samaritan. We learn nothing about the mother's role in this gripping tale from anywhere in the narrative. I don't think this is where the focus should be for some reason. It's possible that she didn't want the kid, had a rough delivery, or couldn't care for her. One may also conclude anything from the book. It is still a reality that Ruben Swift did all within his ability to give tiny Rue Andrea the greatest start in life when he hurried over to Phoenix to welcome his infant. It was all made possible with Joy Ringhofer's assistance, and everyone should appreciate and respect this amazing grandma. She invited a total stranger into her home without regard for her own safety. She saw only another person in need of support and affection, despite all the violent news that was making the rounds on social media. Ruben promised to return to the woman who has become family, a stranger who has now grown to be like a grandma who got a granddaughter. Before Rue Andrea and Ruben left for their flight home, Ruben took away from this event the knowledge that kindness still exists in this bizarre world. The fortunate new dad wants to inspire others to help those in need in order to spread this kindness. I hope that we can go back to a time when we all had a strong sense of caring for one another. When you witness or hear of someone in need of assistance or even just a little human compassion, how would you respond right away? Would you ignore someone's predicament by turning your head or feigning ignorance, or are you going to reach out and show some compassion? Could you finally say, "I'm thankful," like Ruben did? Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.